This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.
Another tragic hazing case to talk about because, you know, it's always a great idea for young people to put other young people in ways of horrible harm to prove their allegiance to the group. That's always a good idea.
I find hazing to be the strangest thing. I don't understand why you even do it.
It's like gangs do that too.
Gang actually makes more sense because we're doing illegal activities.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're part of the gang. These are people going to college, trying to get degrees. Yeah. And go on, you know, they're just trying to educate themselves and go on, and the future's bright, and I'm going to join this fraternity, so I'm going to make some friends. It's kind of why they want the socialization and new friends and that kind of part of college, which I never did. Mm-hmm. I did not join a sorority. That is so not me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do that, and I just don't understand it.
It's cult-like behavior. I mean, if you really break it down, it's very cult-like. And it's one of those things where I think it's gone on for years, and a lot of the bad things that have happened now get swept under the rug. It's just, you know, today we can expose the living hell out of it. And it won't just be news in this one college town anymore. It gets exposed, and the insanity of hazing can be brought out into society today and go, is this something we really still should be doing? Is this the great idea? You know, a long time ago, y'all thought this was fun, but you know, I don't know. We eventually invented the wheel too and decided, hey, this might work better than just a sleigh. But, you know, this one resulted in the death of 20-year-old Caleb Wilson, a Southern University student with his whole future ahead of him. And now authorities have made 2 more arrests, bringing the total to 3, with the possibility of more on the way. The people charged, 25-year-old Kyle Thurman, 28-year-old Isaiah Smith, both hit with felony criminal hazing charges. This follows the arrest of 23-year-old Caleb McCray last week, who is also facing charges of criminal hazing and manslaughter because police say he's the one who delivered the fatal blows. Yes, blows. Because unlike the hazing stories you usually hear where pledges are forced to drink dangerous amounts of alcohol or do extreme endurance challenges, this one involved punching pledges in the chest with boxing gloves. What could possibly go wrong?
Why?
Exactly. Why? What are we accomplishing here? I don't get it. It just seems so archaic. It seems like caveman behavior. It's so I don't know. I've never understood it. Never, ever, ever have understood it. Mm-mm. Let's go back to February 26 and break down exactly how it all went so terribly wrong. A fraternity tradition turned deadly in this case. Wilson, a junior studying medical engineering, was pledging to Omega. How do you say this? I'm horrible at saying these things. PSI Pi? Pi Psi Pi?
Let me pull it up.
Omega Psi Pi, I think is what it is. A historically black fraternity known for its deep-rooted traditions and community connections. But as we've seen way too many times, tradition and hazing tend to overlap in the worst possible ways. That night, Wilson and 8 other pledges were taken to a warehouse owned by Smith's father. Now, if your fraternity invitation involves a secret off-campus location that looks like the setting for an underground fight club, that should be your first red flag. Once inside, pledges were told to change into matching gray sweatsuits because apparently dress codes are important in these things. Then the alleged hazing began. According to police, McCray, Thurman, and Smith started punching them using boxing gloves. Wilson, according to reports, was hit 4 times by McCray, and just like that, he went down. He collapsed, became completely unresponsive, and started having what appeared to be a seizure. Now, here's the part where this could have possibly been salvaged, where someone with half a brain could have stepped in and done the right thing. But instead of calling 911 immediately, the fraternity members tried to handle it themselves because, you know, you don't want to get in trouble for doing dumb things. In the aftermath of all this, well, yeah, instead of recognizing this as a medical emergency, which it was, the group moved the other pledges to another room, like that was somehow going to make the situation better. Meanwhile, Wilson, still unresponsive, was loaded into Smith's vehicle and driven to Baton Rouge General Medical Center. And here's where things get even worse, because not only did they wait to get him help, but when they finally did drop him off at the hospital, they straight up lied about what happened. According to police, the men told medical staff that Wilson had collapsed while playing basketball at a park, as if doctors wouldn't immediately notice the signs that something was off. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a game of basketball that results in a young, healthy man seizing up and becoming unresponsive out of nowhere. And just to complete the sketchy cover-up attempt, the group left the hospital before officers could arrive. By the time medical staff could assess Wilson's condition, it was already too late. He was pronounced dead shortly after arriving. The investigation unfolds. At this point, you'd hope the truth would come out quickly, but hazing cases, especially ones involving fraternities, have a nasty history of people closing ranks and refusing to talk. You know, like gangs do. Mm-hmm. Or cults. Police started piecing the story together through surveillance footage and witness statements, eventually leading them back to that warehouse, which, surprise, surprise, turned out to have evidence of the hazing ritual inside. Among the things they found, a pair of black boxing gloves. Meanwhile, Wilson's clothing had been changed before he was brought to the hospital. When he arrived, he was wearing only black sweatpants and white socks. This detail, while small, raises more questions. Were they trying to erase any evidence that he'd been in the warehouse? The autopsy revealed a small bruise on the right side of Wilson's chest, but officials haven't released full details on his cause of death yet. What is clear is that the medical experts don't believe this was just a tragic accident. Baton Rouge Police Chief Thomas Morris Jr. came right out and said that Wilson's death was a direct result of hazing. So who's responsible? So far, 3 people have been charged, but police haven't ruled out more arrests. Isaiah Smith, who held the title Dean of Pledges, was allegedly in charge of overseeing the whole event. He turned himself in on Tuesday. His lawyer, France Bogart, is already on defense mode, insisting that Smith never actually physically hit Wilson and calling this a freak accident. Kyle Thurman, another participant, has been charged with felony hazing, but he's been quiet. No public statements, no lawyer listed yet. Caleb McCray, the one police say physically punched Wilson 4 times, is facing manslaughter and criminal hazing charges. His lawyer says he's innocent and is asking people to hold off on judgment. But here's the thing. Whether or not they intended for Wilson to die doesn't really matter. I'm sure they didn't intend on him to die. Hazing is illegal in Louisiana, especially when it results in injury or death. In Louisiana, hazing isn't just some minor slap-on-the-wrist offense. Thanks to the 2018 Max Groover Act, named after an LSU student who died from fraternity hazing, hazing that results in serious injury or death is a felony. That means the guys involved in this could face up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Not enough. And if it's not just about individuals, the fraternity itself, Omega Psi Pi, could be in legal trouble too. Mm-hmm. The Southern University chapter has already been suspended, and the entire Greek system at the school is now barred from taking new members for the rest of the academic year. The saddest part of all this, Caleb Wilson wasn't just some kid trying to join a frat. He was a promising medical engineer student with a passion for music. He played the trumpet in Southern University's renowned band, and in early March, hundreds gathered to remember him at a vigil. It was 100% preventable, and that's what makes this case so infuriating. Fraternity hazing has been going on for decades, and despite countless deaths, lawsuits, and national headlines, it still keeps happening. Why? Because these organizations continue to push the idea that suffering equals loyalty, that proving your dedication means subjecting yourself to abuse. And in this case, that mindset cost a young man his life. What happens next? Right now, all eyes are on the courts. More arrests could be coming, and Wilson's family will likely push for major accountability. It wasn't an accident. It was negligence. It was cruelty and a complete disregard for human life. And for what? A brotherhood? A few Greek letters that you can be excited about? And you can talk about later, oh, remember back in my frat days, because everybody looks back at that and goes, that's where you peaked. At least some people did, I guess. A tradition that shouldn't have existed in the first place. At what point do we finally say enough is enough? What the hell are we doing here? I mean, there are adults that are involved in these fraternities. You know, you go off, young ones come in. There's plenty of places where this could have been broken. But it wasn't. Because of tradition. It's just insane. Utterly insane. But we keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
Oh, I have so many, because we hear about this every year about there's a college hazing incident, some child, I mean, they're adults at that point, but some kid comes in, wants to be in the fraternity, and then a lot of times it's alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
But these kids are horribly injured or die. This happens all the time, and I don't understand it. Why do you have to drink your way in? Like, in insane amounts of alcohol, shot after shot after shot. Mm-hmm. And they do say that's the biggest cause of injury and death in college hazing. Why do you take these pledges, line them up, and punch them? What is that, to show how tough they are or how tough you are? It's abuse. It's absolute abuse. And it's sick to me that you could even get these upper level, the junior, senior classmen to inflict this on these freshmen. Like, these are kids right out of their mom and dad's houses. They're going off to college to start this new life. And then it's like, this is what we do. We make you drink insane amounts of alcohol. Whoops, you died. Didn't see that coming. And it happens every year. Every year. And
the fact that these are organized groups, these are chapters that have footprints all over the country, in different college towns. It's not like this is just a bunch of dumb guys going out and being idiots and somebody dies. Like, yes, if there was any other organization out there that's doing this sort of thing, it would be held criminally responsible as a criminal organization. That this is part of joining the ranks. It's like the mob. Again, that sort of thing. It's gang-like. It's cult-like. It's insane. Yet it's like, because we're this proud fraternity, and I'm this brother, I'm that sister, or this, like, you're all pretending to, like, it's like the ultimate, let's keep playing pretend, but we're turning into adults. No, how about you grow the fuck up?
I understand why a gang does this.
Yeah.
Because gangs trying to make sure you're tough enough and you're not going to rat them out, that, you want to do the criminal behavior and you're not going to be turning them in.
Yeah.
Get it? These are college kids. They have aspirations, maybe got a scholarship, they looked at other colleges, they picked that one. This is the first step into, becoming an adult and going off to college for so many people. And then in order to go to college and be part of these people, you have to go through extreme abuse. I don't get that.
And what does that teach? I mean, what is that? Yeah. Like, what is that implementing? Like,
and then you're expected to, as you go through college, when you get the new kids coming in, the freshmen coming in, then you inflict that abuse upon them. Why?
I mean, it's an abuse. It's a pattern of abuse. Is all. I mean, it's that whole thinking of, well, if my parents abused me and I turned out okay, and then they try to justify it as if it's good behavior, then they do it to their kids, and then their kids think it's okay, and it goes on, and nobody ever says stop until someone finally does, or someone dies.
Well, and then these fraternities and these big drunken ass parties they have, women are assaulted and taken advantage of, drugged. And, I can't tell you, like my nieces, when they were going off to college, I'm like, never, ever, ever, ever go to a fraternity party and leave a friend behind.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are connected. Don't even let them take don't take drinks from anybody, open your own drink. Like, I wouldn't even go over to the vodka bottle and pour my own vodka and Coke. I would drink something with a lid on it. My nephews, I had conversations with them. Don't ever be those guys.
Yeah.
And it's like this.
And don't be friends with those guys either. Going, well, it's not me. Don't be friends with people like that.
Call them out, because there is this kind of mob mentality that they're all drunk, and now we've got these women here. We can do whatever we want. We've got these new pledges here. We can abuse them. Ha, isn't this funny? You got to drink so many shots in such amount of time.
Young and dumb. Young and dumb we've all been young and dumb. And this certainly is the epitome of it. And it's sanctioned by organizations, which makes it even more insane. And
every year you hear about, and it's a different fraternity, insert name of fraternity here.
Yeah.
They're closing down because we had one here at Wichita State.
Yeah.
They had problems with, so they had to close it down. It happens all the time.
Yeah. I say shut them all down.
You're going to college. You're spending a lot of money to go to college.
Yeah.
And you're just like getting drunk and partying and doing what you want and beating up on the freshmen.
And then as a parent, you're like, I spent the last 20 some years of my life dedicating myself to getting this person to be prepared for life, and it all gets ruined and destroyed by some other young, dumb morons.
Yeah, because this poor kid, he had aspirations. His family was proud of him. He got accepted into a college.
Yeah.
He got accepted into a fraternity. I'm assuming, or maybe this was, are you going to get in our fraternity or not? You have to go through this. But, he had plans. They had plans for him. He was loved. And then they treat him like that.
And I wonder, if the penalty on this, where we saw earlier, is like 5 years and $10,000. Ooh, that's really tough for murdering someone, even though it wasn't intentional. But they're not thinking ahead enough, going, this could possibly kill somebody. Well, probably it could. If the possibility is there and you're going to execute it, then be prepared for the possibility that somebody could die, and you will then pay the consequences for it. You don't get a lesser consequences because you thought it wasn't going to happen. No, I think it should be brought up on full murder charges. You went out and you did this.
My guess is they lined these kids up.
Yep.
They punched them as hard as they could. And the fact that they don't think that maybe they could damage an internal organ doing this. I mean, it could happen.
It's like, hey, kids, now you guys did this. We're going to play our own fraternity game here. This is the one where you're going to prison. We're going to load this gun here with one bullet. We're going to spin it, and we're going to have you pull the trigger at your head. This is your frat, your hazing to get into prison. You don't want to? Oh, well, that's tough. That's how you get in here. And you have no choice, but you have to get in here. So, yeah, we're going to play a little game of Russian roulette and see.
I think it's so sad.
See how that all works out. I don't know. I mean, I'm not usually a super huge proponent of, well, they got to make an example of somebody, because half the time when you make an example of somebody, the people that should heed the warning are too stupid to do it. But I don't know. I mean, something like this with these fraternity murders, which is what they are, I'd say put the guys who are involved in it away for life. I don't care. Yes. Well, there's so much promise.
But you did.
Yeah. It's like, I don't care. So much promise. Yeah, there was. And they made choices. And this other person suffered the consequences. So sorry. There's also a lot of other people out there that can fill the spots of the jobs that they might have been able to do had they not murdered someone. Mm-hmm. We're not going to so the world's not going to end because they haven't had a way to contribute to it the way that they might have. And the world might just be a better place if those people aren't active in it, reproducing and having more kids that they can make go out and do the same stupid shit and ruin other people's lives. Put them away.
Craving non-stop true crime updates? Press subscribe now and get the latest cases, analysis, and expert commentary delivered straight to your feed. Only from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.